Hello, welcome to the Wyndi Wills Show. Tonight, we're taking a statement from Sheriff Verfallow. So, Mr. Verfallow, could you tell me a little bit about this white wraith of Woodworth? Sorry, was it wraith or wreath?
All right, firstly, I said ring, not wraith. It's not the white wraith of Woodworth, nor is it wreath. It's not the white wreath of Woodworth. But her people do make the most beautiful wreaths, arranging flowers and leaves, and then fastening stems into rings. They use these for decorations or, well, for more somber occasions. They place them on graves. So it should read, the white ring of Woodworth. I know. Wreath or wraith, that might sound better, right? Well, call it what you will then. Now on with the tale. A tale of the she.
She?
No, she. It's spelled Sidhe. The doc in town says it sounds a lot like she.
Are they part of the Tuatha?
Well, how should I know? Tuatha? You'd have to ask Doc about that. Anyway, this is my story about how I came to have this white ring. So that's all I'm telling you about.
I see. So what are these? She.
So what are these she? Well, I really don't know. Now, some have called them fairies, according to the doc, but folks who have heard my tale, they call them banshees. That means wailing women. But I'm being a little disingenuous, I suppose. I mean, after all, I've come to know them well enough, though I don't think any name from our past quite fits them or what they really are. Still, the names might help in some, well, small or erroneous way. Like calling the bullets in my gun little spears. I mean, it gets the point across, I suppose. Anyway, where was I? Right. The white ring. Well, it begins on a homestead way out in Woodworth. And that just means the homestead of the people of the wood. Or so they tell me.
You say here that her name was Corina.
What? Oh, Corina of the White Ring. That's right. I'll get to her soon enough. I mean, that's what I know her as. From the first moment she came to me when I was down in that hole. The hole I told you about. The one those horse thieves, those grave robbing horse thieves, had been digging on that Rossmore ranch. Well, that's what we know the place as, even though other folks have come and gone from the place over the years. Folks don't tend to tarry too long there, let alone live there for any good spell. Anyway, that's where I met her. Her and the other ones that live there. Corina of the White Ring. But I'm still not sure what it is yet. It's not pearl or ivory. Ceramic, maybe? Hard as diamond, though. Yet it's really soft as silk under your fingers.
You say Corina's soft as silk?
Excuse me? Fall? Get Manny out of here now. Sorry about that. Please continue.
All right, well, listen good, because this is where it gets good. You see, I've been the sheriff around here for a long while. I like to wear all black. It helps hide that, I might be a little portly for some folks like it. Anyway, back to the ranch. See, word came down that those horse thieves were heading out to the Rossmores. So I sent word with my deputy to, gather a posse together while I went up on ahead to see what the situation was like for myself. The posse would join up with me directly, as soon as they could. By the time I got there, though, Those fools had already started digging out one of them burial mounds that dot the countryside out there. You know the ones. I guess them boys weren't after the horses after all. Still, a crime is a crime. And I would have waited for the posse, but, it's downright sacrilegious to be digging into them mounds. So I had no choice. I had to go down there and try to stop them myself. Now, little did I know that what I'd be throwing myself into doing that. I had no clue, no hint that such a gateway would be there, much less that these banshees and their queen, the ruler of those fae folk, she would show herself too.
So many of these banshees out there in one spot. Why do you suppose that is?
You see, someone important must have been buried in that mound. A great person, I would think. And it was one of the queen's banshees, if that's what we're going to call them, that saved me that day. You see, as I came upon those grave robbers, there came with me, suddenly, a burst of energy right up from that hole, and a towering creature roared up and glared down at us from on high. She must have been 10 meters high up in the air, with long, flailing arms and such a deep groaning wail, which then became like a roar, like the ocean itself. It was like a storm tearing its way through the trees. And then there was a high-pitched squall, like some torrential tornado, just ripping limb from limb. I couldn't tell where those banshee wails ended and where those poor fools' cries began. Before I knew it, though, it was over. The only thing I could see was a white ring near me on the muddy ground. I guess in all my might to hang on to something, I had, without knowing, I had grabbed onto it, clutching it dearly for life itself. And here I am today, unable to rid myself of it. I've become its warden, and it my ward.
What became of those grave robbers?
Them grave robbing horse thieves, they're gone. They're all gone, bones and all, garments and all. Just sucked down into that mound, I suppose. Something fierce had flung me aside, like I was a rag doll. I was a good 10 meters from the mound when the tempest died down and I was able to get my bearings.
And the white ring?
Well, yeah, the only thing I recovered from that encounter. No hats, no garments, nothing from those boys. And nothing from where they had been digging in. It was like the whole mound just sealed itself back up, pretty as a picture. Like I said, this here ring that I keep on this chain around my neck, that's all I have to prove that it happened at all. Well, my clothing got a good soaking from the storm. Her storm. Karina's storm.
So, what do you think it's made from?
I like to think it's pearl or ivory of some sort. Kind of goes with the handle of my gun, but I don't know what.
And the name Karina?
What? Karina? It's Greek, or that's what the doc in town told me. It means maiden, so that's pretty, don't you think? It's the juxtaposition of the thing and all, right? On one hand, it demonstrates all the delicateness and faithfulness that we hope for in a partner. And yet it has the capability and the ferocity to defend one's own, to protect your loved ones. That's what touches me greatly when I think of her name.
How do you know that's her name?
How? How do I know her name? I just felt it in that moment, as I recall. I just knew suddenly. Maybe because I was holding this here ring. I don't know. I just knew her name, Karina.
What is she?
Yes, I know. That's what you want to talk about. What is she? I done told you I don't know. But I can tell you what she might be, based on legends from other parts of this old world.
You mentioned a banshee?
Is she a banshee? Don't know. Name-wise, that fits. They sure did a lot of yelling. She is from a fairy mound, so you could think of her as a fairy woman. And I have heard her wail. Yes, she was shrieking at her enemies. And she does this before they die. Yeah, that's all true.
Have her cries ever been an omen of someone's death?
Now that part I don't know. You mean some kind of lamenting or singing by them? Like before a family member dies, I see. Well, I don't know about that. I don't go speaking to them at all, and I don't talk to her on a daily basis. It's not like you and I are now. She comes whenever there's trouble. That's all I know. I only call upon her in those times of great need. But sure enough, she'll come every time. And more often than not, she comes a-calling on me first.
Hey, ask him if anyone there has an O or a Mac in their name. Could be Irish or Scottish.
No, sir. I don't have an O or a Mac in my name. No, I mean, I've heard those things, like each family might have their own banshee.
What can you tell us about the Rossmores?
What? The Rossmores? I don't think they were Irish, no. I think they might have come from Scottish or Dutch roots. Hey, again, this is all mostly from Doc in town, right? I mean, you'll have to take all that up with him.
How many are out there at that farm?
How many? Well, I believe there might be a good 24 or so. That's how many of those banshee women that queen of theirs rules over. Could be more or less, but I think it's a fair amount around that number.
And you've met him?
Yes, I met one or two in my time, well enough to speak with them, or been spoken to by them. One of the other ones, I won't say her name out of respect, but we were close enough that she had me just call her by her nickname. Funny that, isn't it?
A nickname?
No, I'm not going to be sharing that name with you either. I done shared enough by talking about Karina.
So you've seen the abilities of more than just Karina?
Yeah, on occasion I've had other instances where I've seen all 24 or more of them thrashing about. But those involve going-ons of someone great or holy, where their assistance was called upon, or like the grave robbers, their crime so incensed them that they all came with heaven's high justice to be done.
Does the name Bera mean anything to you? The Queen of Winter.
Now, I never heard of that name. Bera? Queen of Winter. Well, Our Lady of the Mound out there, she is like a tempest. As I said earlier, I mean, she's all water, raging rapids, ocean foam, a gale coming at you strong enough to knock a barn over like blowing leaves in the fall. But no snow or wintry things, but who knows? Like I said, we don't talk too much. And I don't go visiting her out in her homeland, or whatever you said. So I couldn't tell you much about their world, but I expect it's close by, right alongside our own. Or so I reckon.
And she never told you what type of being she is?
No, I don't know what she is. A fairy, a ghost, a spirit of a dying woman, maybe some poor soul who died in childbirth. Well, I wouldn't want to say.
Are there any other stories out this way like this one?
Oh, sure, there are some other strange tales that might connect to this. One comes to mind you might be interested in. You see, some folks, they say they've seen a strange old hag out in Woodworth, in the woods surrounding that ranch. But this was only from time to time, and in those times, this old woman was seen down by the stream. She was washing her clothes before a big storm, or even in late winter. She wears a kind of a woolen cloak. Only a few people have spoken to her. She's kindly enough, they say. But I heard tell of a young woman who went up to her and found that the old woman was washing the blood-stained clothing of a man. The old woman said it was someone's armor, that the man was about to die. But the young girl didn't want to hear any more of that, so she ran back to town. The same young girl's grandfather passed away soon after that. Now, is that a coincidence? I don't know. Now, how does all that connect? Well, the old woman, according to the young lady, she was wearing a white ring around one of her fingers. And it's also said that they found on the grandfather's grave a garland as white as fallen snow.
And that's all we have at the moment for the White Ring of Woodworth. Be careful when you go digging around out there. This is Wyndi Wills signing off. Until next time, thank you for watching The Wyndi Wills Show.